All right. All right, welcome everyone. This is another session, another time of for our book review. So I welcome you all as you join us today. We're starting a new book today, and our new book that we're starting today says "Go for No." Go for No by Richard Fenton and Andrew Waltz. Richard Fenton and Andrew Waltz. Definitely, this, as we see from the topic, Go for No, it's a way, kind of trying to desensitize us from the word no. That is the overall premise. Not like, do not be afraid of no. And he says a subheading here says, yes is the destination, no is how you get there. And the way the book is written is a story, right? Really, a fictional story where about a particular fictional character, and how their life ended up in one way or the other, depending on the choice they made based on the a particular, I would say, job review, right? Or performance review, basically, right? So it's a fictional story, and really, really, really nice. I like the way it's written, and it's a very short book. The whole thing is just 63 pages, and I think maybe the main book might be about, less than 80 pages, really. And, I picked it up, and in a day, I've gotten to chapter 12 already, because like each chapter is about 2 pages. So it's not a burdensome book to read. Very, very interesting, because it's a story, you get drawn in. So I would definitely recommend this. You can literally read this on a sitting. It's that interesting. All right. So really, really nice. And the lessons that we will derive from this will not start until, say, around chapter 11, right? Around chapter 11. And that is where that performance, in a way, some form of performance review came on, a comment that was made by a boss that then determines for one character, the same character, of course, but then it so happens that they met a future, they have their older self, the future self met, in an interesting turn of event. They met, and they were able to say, it was at this juncture that my life took a turn for the better, right? Because I followed what this person suggested, or some form of feedback they gave me. I learned from the feedback that I was given, so it's really, really nice and interesting. And then he started talking about why a lot of people dread no, and then the word failure as well. Okay. And then we'll see in the later chapters, of course, there will be other lessons to learn. So I love some of the reviews that were noted earlier in the book. A small book with a big message, right? And basically, it's promising to turn your sales experience, sales experience, turn it around, basically, and change the way you do things when it comes to sales. And when it comes to how to then embrace rejection, how to ensure that, yes, you now know, how to handle rejection, and then taking no. Like some people will say, eating no for breakfast. This is basically, knowing that no is leading to your yes, you're aspiring, to get the no. Okay, so basically that is one of the things I was said. And then there is a no quotient personal assessment. It's a free assessment provided in the book. I did mine. You can definitely do that as well. It's a 20-question profile that takes only a couple of minutes to complete. So you can just go through that and see where you are on the scale of the no quotient, right? So Go for Now is a fictional story, like I said, about 4 unforgettable days in the life of Eric James Bratton, a wonderful husband, terrific brother, and a social copier salesman, right? That was one path that he went to. And then, in his future, there's another path that actually went in the path of not being afraid of no. And in this note from the authors, there are a few things that I highlighted, so you mentioned here, that a lot of people, are afraid of failing. A lot of people are afraid of rejection. And that's why they dread the word no, right? They dread the word no, and thereby they do not want to, once they get a yes, they just stops. They just stop there and do not go further with possible opportunity to make sales. So this book is for anyone who wants to break through self-imposed barriers and achieve everything life has to offer. So if you are here, if you are afraid of no, hearing people tell you no, if you are afraid of rejection, people not following what you're providing to them and all of that, then this book is for you. There will be tips and, how to overcome failure, how to overcome rejection, and how to treat no, how to use no to get to your yes, how to use no to get to the best outcome that you really want. Okay, so it's like I said, it's a story that I would love for you to go over. It's a story of a salesman that has a quota to meet, and in the course of meeting his weekly quota, he found himself knocked out. Right, he had an accident. He fell over, knocked his head, and then by the time he woke up in a house that was not his. Initially, he did not realize his environment, and then eventually he realized he was in a different environment, but he was in his own house, but then not his house. So you need to read the book to get the gist of that. He woke up in a stranger's house. That stranger was him. So the interesting thing is there's a 10-year gap where he fell and knocked his head and then woke up 10 years later, right? To now, not to himself living that reality, but to a version of him in that 10 years time, right? So that was an interesting one, right? He's still married to his wife. He now lived in a really nice, place. And then he got to be able to talk to himself, his other version, his 10-year older version, and things like that. So that was an interesting one. And all of these I'm talking, you get to all of this in chapter 7. So you need to read a story leading up all onto that. Basically, he was a salesman, and in an attempt to reach his quota, he decided, okay, I'm going to give myself some time off, play golf by myself because he invited somebody to come along and they didn't have the time. So he went on and played golf. And it was at that golf, where he was playing the golf, that he had that accident. And then he knocked himself over and woke up in a stranger's house. That was his house. That was interesting. All right. So now this was like a few days, and he started talking. Him and his future self got talking. Now, that was an interesting gift, right? If you can, as we go through this, I think it'll be a good exercise to picture yourself, me in 10 years. What will I tell my current me? Right? You picture yourself, me in 10 years, yourself in 10 years, as who you want to be, as who you desire to be. Successful, entrepreneur, successful professional, where you want to be. And then be able to analyze, okay, at that time, this is what I did to be successful. This was my dream job. I got my dream job, or I got my dream business. And this is how my life turned out, right? And then be able to tell your current you to say, these are your fears, but then this is how you can overcome them, and all of those things. So this book will get you to begin to think, okay, what are the things I need to learn to get to where I need to be? All right. So really, really, really interesting. Okay, so let's look into some of the things when at that juncture where their life began to diverge, right? So we have a story here that is chapter 11. Then how did you know he was done? That's the topic. Then how did you know he was done? That is where the sales lesson started. Now, this was a manager at a sales shop, a clothing retail shop, where the regional sales manager was coming to examine the performance of all the sales folks and all of that. He came in, and while he was around, this young guy, Eric, he made the sales. He made sales, and a very huge sale for that matter compared to his performance in the past. And he was able to now, show his regional manager that, yes, he was able to make sales. Was so excited, right? But then the regional manager asked him, then how did you know he was done? Or let me back it up a little so you understand, what follows up. I'll read verbatim here. Harold waited calmly for me to stop being defensive, or after the customer left, Harold finally sauntered over and said, nice sale, kid. My chest puffed out with pride. $1,100, I proclaimed. But Harold just stood there and didn't seem overly impressed. Finally, he said, I'm just curious, but what did that customer say no to? I asked, what do you mean? I shot back. That guy just bought a suit, sport coat, 3 shirts, 6 ties, shoes, socks, a belt, and underwear. What do you mean? What did he say no to? Harold waited calmly for me to stop being defensive. Then he said, we've already established what he said yes to. What I want to know is, what did he say no to? I thought for a long time, mentally reviewing the sale in my mind. Then sheepishly, I replied, nothing. That customer didn't say no to anything. So Harold asked, then how did you know he was done? His question hit me like a punch because I suddenly realized the customer hadn't ended the sale. I had. Why? For only one reason I could think of. The customer had hit his mental spending limit. I realized, okay, the customer had hit my mental spending limit. I realized that I had never spent more than $1,000 on a shopping trip ever. So when anyone went over my mental spending limit, hey, they were done. I pretty much remember that. That's the Eric one saying. But it didn't have that much impact on me. That's what changed your life. Yes, that and what Aaron said next. He said, the salesperson never decides when the sale is over. The customer does. Then he looked me in the eye and said, Eric, your fear of hearing the word no is the only thing standing between you and greatness. It was amazing. I had gone into work that morning hoping to keep my job. And I went home that night, just 2 letters away from greatness. 2 letters from greatness. I heard myself repeating, N and O, no. So these are the lessons, that we're now picking. That was chapter 11 pretty much, right? And he just mentioned that customer, as the salesperson, it's not our job to determine when the sales had ended. So we give the customer the chance to tell us that they are done shopping. And from this scenario, even after they've bought suit, sport coats, 3 shirts, 6 ties, shoes, socks, a belt, and underwear, we should still continue to ask for more sales. Until then, they say no, right? Until they say yes, they're done, right? We want to continue to let them know there's more to buy. There is more they can benefit. There is more, to see. So we cannot cap it and say, yes, we're done. I'm ringing this up for you, or I'm finalizing this for you. No, we have to continue to ask for more. We want to see more. We want to know more, and all of that. Yes, so that is very, very, very essential. A very interesting lesson to note right there. As the salesperson, it's not it's not for us to end the sales. It's the customer's responsibility to do that. Now, chapter 12, that's another amazing lesson. The failure and success model. The failure and success model. Now, let's review, part of chapter 1 through 10 a little bit. Now, Eric was, is a man, a married man, a family man, doing good for himself in sales, having targets and meeting his targets, and having, he has his own ways of doing it, and he follows those ways pretty well. Now, he's at that point in his life that he's able to, take vacation based on the performance and all of that. But he had target for the week, and he was pursuing, every day he was working towards fulfilling that target. But this week, leading up to this chapter 11 and 12, leading up to the accident actually that resulted in this chapter 11 and 12 incidents or encounters, he actually was caught up in the whole process to the point that the days were just slipping off of him, right? He was invited to a meeting that he had no business in, but he was roped into it, and he didn't say no. He didn't reject, right? He went to that took his time, and on, he had things come up that was preventing him, that eventually got him to not do what he needed to do, and that is to prospect, that is to make more sales, right? So eventually that was leading up to the end of the week, he wanted to play golf, and he invited somebody. That person was not available, so he went by himself. I'm still curious to see, what happened, who got him out of the pond that he fell into, because it was not. I felt for you, playing by yourself, fall into the pond, and how did you come out, right? So we've dealt with the word no, and the lesson that the fact that as a salesperson, it's not our job to end the sale. It is the customer's job to end the sale. They are the one that will tell us they are done buying. Until we hear the no, we continue to prospect. All right. And then even when we hear the no, we don't stop. I'm sure there is more to that as we go on in this book. Chapter 12, the failure success model. Now, this is a really, really a good mental picture, and I would love to share it with us. Let me see. Let me share my screen for you to see. Okay. Just share this real quick. Now, this is a really nice mental picture, the failure success model. Normally, we see success and failure as being on opposite sides. We see ourselves in the middle, and then success on the right, failure on the left, right? That is oftentimes how we see ourselves. And he mentioned here, I had always thought my mission was to do everything within my power to move towards success and to move away from failure. But that moment with Harold opened my eyes. I realized that the correct model looked like this. He said, attacking the men once again. He said, me at the beginning, and then failure in the middle, and success ahead. I realized that failure was the halfway mark on the road to success, not a destination to be avoided, but rather a stepping stone to get what I really want in life. That is very, very essential. Let this model be imprinted in your mind. It is very, very essential, right? So knowing that you're not, when you encounter a failure, when you fail, right? It's not for you now to say, I'm taking a U-turn. I'm going to go look for success in the opposite direction. No, success is ahead, beyond the failure. Failure is the halfway mark on the road to success. Okay. And then he dared to say something here, right? That, a lot of people try to run away from the word fail, right? And because they take the word they assume the word. The error is now personalizing the word. That if I say I failed, then I'm a failure. That is not true. That is not true, right? Because failing does not make one a failure. Failing makes you learn how a particular thing will not work, and then you learn from it. And then, of course, its own word here, he doesn't like it when people call failure something else. For example, when people say, it's a snag, a glitch, we hit a glitch in the way, all of those ways of, a setback, a mistake. He says this is silly and counterproductive. The word fail may have 4 letters in it, but it's not a 4-letter word. When people use skilled substitutes, they treat it as if it were. We tried, but we hit a glitch. They say, give me a break. Just say you failed. Big deal. Is that so hard? No wonder everyone on the planet thinks failing is something to be avoided at all costs. We sugarcoat it and dance around it and talk about it as if it were death. The best way to desensitize yourself to a word is to use the word. And the best way to desensitize yourself to an action is to do it. I mean, I have a personal experience, or some form of personal experience that I can share on this one, on, that to desensitize yourself to an action is to do it. I noticed a few while ago when we, leaving the house, be trying to avoid some traffic lights. There's a shortcut just before the traffic light that you can go through. And then you go, avoid about 2 traffic lights to continue on your journey. Now, I have fantasized, I've tried. Each time I go, I try to okay, I need to go through that route. I need to go through that route. I feel it's going to be shorter. I believe it's going to be shorter, both to and fro, right? That I would need to go through it. So each time I go out wanting to go in that direction, I should have gone through that route. If not, if I had, I wouldn't be stuck here right now. I should have gone through that route. Until I tried it, until I went through it and realized it really does not save much time. By the time I went through that route and realized it really does not save much time, it stopped bugging me. I stopped fantasizing, oh, I should have gone through that route, right? Until I did the action. Until I did the action, I kept fantasizing, oh, that was a bad decision. I should have gone through that route. If not, I wouldn't be waiting here right now. But immediately I went through it and realized, no big deal. Even slower or whatever, or might even be equal, right? It just stops bugging me. So I can relate to this, that the best way to desensitize yourself to an action is to do it. Okay. So when it comes to sales, if you've been so much up in arms about, okay, prospecting, you don't want to say it, you don't want to go for it and all of that, you just find yourself not so much into it enough. All you need to do is do it and then see, is that so hard? Is that so hard? At the end of the day, you find that it's not a big deal at the end of the day. And then the word no, right? We've talked about the word fail. Now the word no. As kids, we weren't fazed at all when we heard the word no, were we? Every Saturday morning in grocery stores all across America, you can hear kids passing right through failure and taking no in stride on their way to success. I love this analogy, and it's so true. All right. I'm sure if you've dealt with toddlers, you would definitely relate with this. Let me read this to you. It says, "Can I have a cookie, mommy?" Mommy says no. "I want a cookie." Mommy says no. "Please, can I have a cookie?" No. "Please, I said no." "Pretty please, with sugar on top." No. "Why can't I have a cookie?" "Because I say so." "But why?" Listen to me, young man. I am not going to say this again. The answer is N-O, no. Then 10 seconds later, "Mommy, I want a cookie." "Oh, okay. For heaven's sake, just one, okay? Not more than one." I'm sure you've gone through such scenario with your toddler at one time or another, right? They got what they wanted. How many no's did they get? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? 8, a big one, and O, right? Before they got their yes. 8 no's. And eventually they left the store with the cookie, even if it's just one. At the end of the day, I'm sure, you know, if you were like any other mother, they might even, get more than one at the end of the day, right? So we need to always remember that and eat no as cookies, right? So it says, if he pushes long enough, he knows that if he pushes long enough and hard enough and doesn't quit, there is a yes at the end of the cookie trail. Exactly. Now, I'm not saying that adults should act like spoiled brats to get what they want, but there is an important lesson to be learned here. Somewhere along the line, that natural sense of tenacity we had as children got drummed out of us. Billy knows not to take the rejection personally, but as adults, we forget that. That's what Harold helped me remember. So, like the little child, Billy, did not take no as mommy rejected him, right? If we look at that scenario, he didn't take the no to the cookie that he was requesting as a form of rejection to his person. No. But as we grow older, we now personalize, we take no personally, and we see it as rejection. And that is where the problem is. Because we see it as rejection, we avoid it at all costs, because who loves to be rejected, right? So we need to dissociate ourselves from that. And how to do that is to be able to desensitize yourself to the word. Get no's. Be excited when you get a no, right? Be excited when you get a no. And that, is where things will begin to change. Now, another lesson, chapter 13, this is where we're going to stop for today, right? So, this was new to Eric of the past, right? That, oh, wow. So failure, no, and all of that. So that was what changed your life, right? So he was able to learn from that. And Eric of the future took him through some form of confessions, or some form of if you can, I don't even know if we can take this as an affirmation. So he said, repeat after me, Eric. I like to fail. Can you say that? When I read that, I'm like, what? And that's why I'm saying I don't even know if I can say this is a some form of affirmation, right? I like to fail. So Eric replied, that's my problem. I don't like to fail. That's because you still think that failing leads to failure. Failing and becoming a failure are two very different things. Successful people fail eagerly, while failures avoid failing. Ouch. Successful people, let me say that again. Successful people fail eagerly, while failures, people that have personified failures, avoid failing. The whole point of becoming willing to fail more is to become a success, so that one day you won't be forced to look back on your life and say to yourself, I'm a failure. Do you understand that? He said, yes. Good. Then repeat after me. I like to fail. I fail big and I fail often. Stick and stones may break my bones, but no can never hurt me. Right? No can never hurt me. I think I can take that, right? I feel big and I feel often. I'm not sure if I still can take that, but that is what he's teaching here. The word no doesn't have to be debilitating to us. That is the most important lesson you will ever learn, Eric. Right? So when we hear no, we shouldn't be afraid of it. We shouldn't run away from it. We shouldn't try to prevent it, in the first place, right? And, definitely we know that it's your no that leads to your yes. So that was the point where the trajectory of the lives of these two Erics changed. So as looking to yourself as your future self, try to see yourself as your future self. And each time you want to make a decision, or each time you want to make a decision, I should say, right? Did we say for the yes, if you say yes to an opportunity, what lies ahead? What are the potentials that lies ahead? And if you say no to that opportunity, that means you stay on the course of things that you are right now. What are the things that possible lifestyle, or the kind of life that lies ahead for you? It will be a good thing to really do, because it will enable us to be able to dare some things, right? And not take failure or failing as being a failure, right? Even when we hit some nags or some form of a disappointing path in our way, we are still able to forge ahead, because we know, though we may fail, though we may have opportunity to learn, I'm still trying to do what you said we shouldn't do. Fail, right? Though we may fail, but from that failure, we're learning. We'll learn how not to do things again, right? And then from there, you gain more experience than somebody that never ventured out in the first place, right? So it's very, 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 is a very good opportunity, for us. So that is what we're going to end it today. I want you to, have this truth at the back of your mind, that number one, customer is the one that will tell us, they are done with the sale. It is not the role of the salesperson to end a sale. It is the customer's duty to end their sale. In other words, as long as they are still buying, you continue to offer them more, right? Until they decide they've ended this, their purchase, right? And then number two, the failure and success model. Failure and success are not in opposite direction. They're not in opposite direction of us, right? Failure and success is the halfway mark on the road to success. So when you fail, when you find yourself, right, in a place that a particular step you took ended ended up failing, then you don't take it personal. You just take the lesson and move right along, right ahead, not opposite direction, right ahead. So all of that. The best way to desensitize yourself to a word is to use it, and the best way to desensitize yourself to an action is to do it. And just like toddlers don't take no for an answer, you too, my friends, we should not take no for an answer. We need to learn that and not take no as a form of rejection. Okay? Don't take people saying no to you that they are rejecting. Just like your child is not looking at you, like when you say no to them, getting that cookie is you rejecting them. So also you, when people say no to you, allow them to say no, because then they're not dragging you along, because then they will be wasting your time. And the emotional pressure or the emotional currency that you'll be spending with such people dragging you along, it's even worse. But when you allow them, you give them the opportunity to say no quickly, you'll be able to get to the next person, to the next person, to the next no, to the next, which eventually, as you're going, one thing that I've realized, right? Because as you're going through the no's, one of the things that is happening is you are learning, right? Recently, I've had to get back in, in interviewing for jobs and things, right? And one of the things that I've learned in that process is one interview, no matter what the outcome is, prepares you for the next, because then you know how they're asking the question, though you prepared, but some questions might still come that you did not, that you were not prepared for, right? So you take this interview, even if they didn't come back and say, yes, we want you, yes, you are the, the savior we're looking for, you're still able to take some lessons from that interview that you can use for the next one. So just take every prospecting call, in that manner, that yes, we are interviewing each other, all of that. If it's a no here, I've picked up something. Okay, I think the way I presented this time, maybe I was too pushy, or I need to refine this. I need, you know how to present, how to prospect the next prospect. Okay, and then we know that successful people fail eagerly, while failures, people that have that personalized failure or that personalized failing, they turn themselves to failures by avoiding failing. Okay, when you take failing personally, you become a failure, because then you are avoiding failing. And when you avoid failing, when you fail, instead of moving along to the next steps towards your success, you turn back. And when you turn back, you're starting over. You reject the lesson. You're not giving yourself the chance to review what happened in that last encounter. What did I need to change? How, all of those things. You didn't give yourself the chance to learn from it, which then prepares you for the next encounter, for the next opportunity, right? That gets you closer and closer to your success, okay? So the word no doesn't have to be debilitating to us. That is the most important lesson you'll ever learn. And that sums up today's review. I hope it's been an insightful one for you. Let me know if you have any question or you have any contribution, any addition that you would like to add. You can put it in the comment of maybe in the group chat or in the description of this video. Thank you for joining me today. I will see you back here next